I do want to let everyone know that on a few occasions, I've been asked to record these sessions and post them later to enable folks who weren't able to join at this time to watch at another time. So as fair warning to everybody who's logged in, you can probably see this in the top corner of your Google Meet window. We are recording, and after this we'll make sure to post the session again for anyone who didn't have the opportunity. I'm continuing to admit people as we go, but first want to just make introductions to those of you who may be joining this gathering for the first time. There are a number of administrators, board members on the Meet. We're all here to try to answer questions, clarify information for you. And so let me just start by, and it looks like everyone has already, but just would request that everybody place themselves on mute so that there are no distracting noises that happen as we go. And I am going to take a look at the list of folks in the who are participants right now, and make sure that all of you can put faces with names of the folks on the line. First, our board members. And I see that our board president, Dr. Brian Weiss, is on. Brian, will you unmute and say hello so you jump to the front of everyone's screen?
I will. Good evening, everybody. Welcome again, and thank you again, Dr. Harris, for doing this. And I hope that we'll be once again to answer all your questions and/or concerns tonight, which we've done. And welcome back again. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, Megan Walsh, another board member, is on. Megan, will you do the same?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for joining.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe those are our two board members. I hope I didn't miss anybody. So now let me go through and I'll ask the same thing for our administrators who are on the line. And I'm just going to go in the order I see them on my screen here. I'm going to start with Carol Katz.
Good evening. I'm Carol Katz. I'm the director of K-12 Math.
Thank you, Carol. Also on is Dr. Ken Vian.
Hello, Ken Vian, Assistant Superintendent.
Kevin Houchins.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Houchins, Director of Equity and Community Engagement.
Lauren Broderick.
Hi, I'm Lauren Broderick, Director of Pupil Services. Welcome.
Thank you. Linda Logalbo.
Good evening, everyone. Linda Logalbo, Director of Curriculum and Instruction.
Thank you. And introducing to everybody, our new assistant principal who is serving at Bryden School, Lori Crum. Lori, if you'll unmute and just say hello, then you'll jump to the front of everyone's screen as well.
Oh, she went.
All right, I'm going to come back to Lori. And next on my list, Paul Chase.
Hello, Paul Chase, high school principal.
Thank you. Sherry Miller.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm happy to see you together with Miss Lori Crum, who could not unmute, and Allie Ciccone. We have the privilege of working with all our elementary schools in Fairmount.
Thanks, Sherry. Tony Shritai.
Hi, everyone. Tony Shritai, principal of Beechwood Middle School. Thanks for being here tonight.
Okay, and I must have passed by you, Allie. Go ahead, Allie Ciccone. Oh, yeah, you're right at the top. You were the early bird.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Allie Ciccone, assistant principal at Bryden, Hilltop, and Fairmount. And I just wanted to, together with Sherry Miller, give Lori Crum a big welcome. We really enjoyed having her on our team this year.
Thanks. And Lori, at any time, feel free to unmute and just say hello, interrupt me as I go on, because then you'll pop to the front of everyone's screen and they'll get to put your face with the name as well.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Hi,
well, I'm glad to be a part of the Beechwood team. I hope you all have a great evening.
Thank you, Lori. Okay. So, big group of us, thank you for your patience. Two things. One is just want to offer my thanks to the many staff across our district whose hard work both over the last months allowed us to bring some students in person several weeks ago. That work's been ongoing and really critical work for those students. And then, of course, it was a very big deal for all of us to welcome students, all of our students back who have chosen in person yesterday. Feels like a week ago, but it was yesterday. And so we've had 2 really good days, and really pleased and thankful for the work of so many people who made these last few days a success. And we're just, our fingers are crossed that we're going to keep having good experiences across Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, and just continue to try to get used to our new practices, procedures, and keep everybody safe and keep all the students learning and making progress. The way we've run these Google Meets, these community conversations, seems to have worked pretty well. We have 56 people on the line, and so what I'll ask of folks is if you would offer your questions, comments, anything that you would like us to respond to, please do so in the chat. If you're not used to Google Meet, it's in the upper right-hand corner of your window. If you click in the chat and type, and then hit submit or enter, we can then kind of follow going one by one through your comments or questions and addressing them. And so without further ado, we'll start doing that right now. And so the first, I'll read them all. The first question is directed to the high school. So Mr. Chase, have you considered going to a different hybrid model for the second semester where kids would attend classes both while in school and at home? This person says, similar to what Chagrin Falls and other school districts are doing. So I assume this would mean that we wouldn't be splitting our population. They would just be going for a shorter period of time.
I think it might be splitting the population, and then the students log in from home and in person, and they swap, but they're always in class based off of that model, is what I believe. No, I have not considered that model yet. So.
All right, that was a very concise answer. I'll just offer, in addition, that we're 2 days in. I granted, we're 2 days in, at least in person. We'll continue to look at how our schedule is meeting the needs of our high schoolers, middle schoolers, and see if we want to look at a different model moving forward. I sure hope that there's more positive information regarding coronavirus that allows us to feel confident in trying something different. If it isn't that way, and we don't feel we're making the progress we need to, we will surely revisit what our schedule looks like currently. And we are speaking with other school districts. Mr. Chase speaks with a lot of CVC principals. I'm sorry, CVC is the Chagrin Valley Conference. They meet all the time, and a number of us have a lot of contact with other districts. So we're frequently talking to one another about what we're doing, what's working, what's not working, and for lack of a better term, we're all doing the best we can for now. The next question is, my kids are in 3rd and 5th grade. Which grade line should I wait to pick up for my kids? So this is a Hilltop question about the pickup lines. I will open it up to anyone who would like to take that one.
I would recommend that you start with your 3rd grader, so then your 5th grader can walk down to toward the car for where your 3rd grader is being picked up. That would be the safest and the most logical.
Thank you. I remember that I ought to add, if it's not self-evident, that we are recording the session for those of you who, this session right now, for those of you who have joined in as we've gone. And again, whether we were recording or not, I'll always ask that that folks avoid speaking about anything specific to their child or for sure another child. And just because it's a very public setting, and we want to maintain our students' privacy and confidentiality. Okay, a Bryden question. The 2nd grade online class has way too many kids, 30 or so. I think this is saying I'm concerned about the quality of online education going forward. Ms. Miller, can you speak a little bit about the online classes and maybe go beyond just second grade, but speak to all of the elementary online classes and what some of the things you've been leading over the last few days and weeks?
Right, thank you. We understand that parents are concerned about this, and we have been meeting with our online teachers to look at a restructuring. We will be redoing the schedule throughout this week so that beginning next Tuesday, when the children return to school, and you will be informed about this before Tuesday, we will be breaking the children up into groups. Most likely they will be split into 3 different groups, and then within those groups, they will then further be split into learning pods, and we will be keeping you informed all the way. As many of you know, the teachers this week have been spending time assessing students. That will help with some of the regrouping. And another concern that we want to address, to be in front of, is the opportunities for socialization. So I want to reassure you that we are finding new ways to be sure that the children are getting to work beyond the small groups they're currently in, so that they can interact with children throughout that 28 to 30 student population. And we will be working on responsive classroom type meetings, our morning meeting types where children get to know about each other, know about the teacher. And it is our goal to rotate the children through those groups so that they will have the chance over the next couple of weeks to get to know everybody much better than they have at the beginning of the school year. We are very sensitive to your concerns. It does resonate with us, and we want you to know that we are continuing to work through that. We have received some suggestions that we are very open to and appreciate, and you can count on the change that will be coming, and you will be informed through this weekend from the teachers involved.
Thanks, Ms. Miller. I accidentally jumped, I think, 2 questions ahead, my mistake. So the question was a high school schedule question. Paul Chase, does the high school end at 10:15 on Tuesdays and Fridays, not 11 a.m.?
So it actually ends at 10:30. There was an error with the bells today that some of the classes released a little bit early, but it's typically 10:30 after what would be 10th period. But also remember that then academy begins, and that's done on the opposite side of the day that your child is in person. So yes, it does, but there's still academy after that, done from either morning or afternoon on the opposite side of your in-person learning.
Do you want to address the schedule for the afternoon group, since it's also it's also
Yes.
what is it?
2:55. 2:55 would be the afternoon group, and then it goes right into academy from there. But the academy in the afternoon would be for the morning group.
Okay, thank you. The next one, and I had skipped over this by accident. The online classes at Bryden now have 29 to 30 students. We've been told at these meetings that in-person parents can still switch to online, that kids quarantining will temporarily be added, and that kids who do not follow the rules will be forced to switch, meaning these sizes are a starting point. How can a class of 10, as some in-person classes now are, and a class of 30, possibly be receiving an equivalent education? Okay, so a couple answers to this, and I know this is a oft-repeated topic, and I don't want to repeat anything that Ms. Miller has actually already addressed. However, kids in quarantine will not be added to a different section. We don't have any kids in quarantine right now. We have not had any kids in quarantine. However, it's highly likely we will. In order to maintain the continuity of their education, they will stay engaged with the class that they are currently in. So with that teacher and with their peers, that will not happen. It's easy for me to say this, but we're 2 days in, and we really aren't having students who are not following the rules. And so I anticipate that our kids will continue to do so. So I don't anticipate having to add kids who are quote unquote not following the rules of in person and having to switch them to online. So the last question, the last part of that being about an equivalent education. There is no doubt, and I don't think anyone expected online to look like what the in-person classroom looked like. But I think, as you heard Ms. Miller state, that there is going to be a lot of effort put into dividing up the kids, helping them connect with one another, engage authentically with their teachers, and that this work has already begun and will continue in earnest in the coming days. And any support that our teachers need, whether it be technology support to kind of so that this can be manifest in the online environment, we will provide it. And you know, I think for all the parents who may be on this meet and have similar concerns, watch what we do in the coming days. Work with us, offer us your suggestions as Ms. Miller invited, and we will continue to stay at this and try to get better at it. Okay, this one I hit. Okay, next one. In order to avoid education disruption when there are illnesses, excluding COVID, is there any consideration to allow for elementary students to participate in school virtually from home? This is similar to the model some of the private schools are doing. Trying to understand the question. I apologize. Do any of the administrators want to jump in on this?
Sure, I can start because I feel the same question at the high school. So the best way I can explain it, if a student who is in-person learning is sick and they stay home, they have to take a absence for that day. However, I have no issue letting them in the high school model join in, but you can't choose between in-person and online. Instead, if you're sick, you take a sick day, and it's fine that you access the content during that sick day at the high school. And I sent an email out about that with parents yesterday.
Thanks, Paul. I understand that now. Tony, it's the same at the middle school, yes? It depends, right?
Yeah, we don't necessarily have the term that oft is used is hybrid. Like, we don't have the hybrid models similar to what's going on at high school, where a teacher might have in-person students in front of them next to a device as they're engaging online students. Typically, the classroom at the middle school is set up so that they are teaching in person, and then they have a dedicated period set aside for online-only instruction. If the need should ever arise, we could absolutely just transition some additional tech into that classroom to try to pull that off. It has come up, and we're willing to accommodate students as needed, similar to what they're offering at the high school.
And Ms. Miller, do you want to address this? I know it's very different in the elementary environment.
In the elementary, we tend not to want to bring kids in just for a day to a different classroom or for a few days. We would rather work with their classroom teacher to be able to be involved in the work that is going on in the classroom. And we want the children to really feel like they belong to a classroom community. It is so important that, especially in these times, that they feel a sense of belonging and grounded in the environment they've been in. Every teacher at elementary is willing to work with the children so that they can keep up with their work if they're feeling up to it, depending how ill they are at home. And it's just like always, even pre-COVID, we work with children and families to help children stay and maintain their learning so that they don't lose too much ground.
Thanks. Okay, the next question, is there a maximum number of students per classroom for the in-person school, or does this depend on room size? So the answer is yes, there is a maximum number, and yes, it does depend on the room size. So we have aimed for a very healthy cushion of the 36 square feet per student, so that everyone has 6 feet distancing on all sides. Most of our classrooms, depending on the level, can be anywhere from 900 feet to 11 or 1200 feet in some of the larger elementary rooms. And then you have specialized spaces like, say, your band or orchestra room, as an example, that is much larger. So we have scheduled all of our class sizes based on that, and will not exceed in any of those rooms the number of students that would still allow us to safely stay within the distancing we need. So I hope that's a clear answer to your question, that yes, there is a maximum number, and yes, it depends. Okay, currently we are not taking advantage of this school bus. Bryden's drop-off and pickups have been congested these first few days. While I know everyone is working to get the kids in and out as fast as possible, if the backup continues, is there an option to ride the bus? If so, how do we go about changing to that mode of transportation? Any parent, for any reason, is entitled to utilize our transportation. You can simply call our transportation department or email. Let's see, Ken, maybe there's a good email you could drop into the chat. Go ahead.
Transportation@beechwoodschools.org.
Thank you. I should probably know that. So feel free to write with some detail about who your child is or children, when you want to begin riding, and any of the details that are important, such as are you going to only put your child on the bus in the morning, or is it morning and afternoon, vice versa? The more information we have, the better. And then make sure that you receive a confirmation with information about what route your child is on and the pickup and drop off times, things like that. And then you'll know that we know in the schools on which bus to place your child. So the next question is a online class question again, and I just don't want to take people's time repeating the same answers again. It ends though with, it's about the size of the online classroom, and it ends with, will a teacher assistant, we hope there will be a teacher assistant to help out. Our plan is not to add a teacher assistant, but rather to take the approach that Ms. Miller spoke about earlier during this meet, or the approaches, I should say. And we'll continue to monitor this. And as I said, I'm confident that you will see positive changes in how those timeframes and the numbers of students are handled. Okay, Mr. Chase, will the high school have exams? Will there be standardized tests? How will teachers get through all the curriculum if they only have 2 class periods a week with their students? So,
All right, so,
exam,
right now-
standardized tests, and curriculum.
Correct. So right now there is the plan to have final exams at the high school. We don't know what those are exactly look like. It's going to depend on what December brings at that time. We are running the PSAT and the pre-ACT coming up in October and November. The PSAT email just went out today. Standardized tests, those are I guess from the standpoint of Ohio and the air test, those are up in the air still. We're waiting on the final, which is, I understand, is going through the different lawmakers today on some final decisions in Ohio if there's going to be air tests. So we're still waiting on that, just like the entire state. And finally, the curriculum question has been asked in each of these sessions, and I can give you a couple of really concrete examples. We always talk about power standards. There are extended standards that are offered in each of the subject areas, and they go from year to year. Those are the first standards that teachers are making sure they're covering thoroughly. And that's very typical in this scenario right now, talking to other CVC schools as well. And finally, just because we're talking about 2 days in person, I know I've had the opportunity to be in several Google Classrooms and look at the resources the high school teachers have created. And in most cases, they're remarkable. We have one math teacher that has over 130 videos of himself recorded of many lessons, as well as most of our teachers have several flipped classroom models occurring. So the resources in the afternoon, the expectation is the learning continues in the afternoon with the students using these resources in Google Classroom. And one conversation I had with another parent is we need to think in many ways as these high school students are becoming older, we're looking at somewhat what their college model is going to look like in a couple of years for them as well. So that's the way we need to look at it. There is learning going on at home as well, but with plenty of resources in Google Classroom.
Thank you. So, Ms. Miller, I don't know. The next comment is about online classes at the elementaries and the with regard to the specials or the UA rotation. Is there any? So, we understand that the schedule right now doesn't permit the online classes to go through the rotation in the same way, with teachers rotating to the rooms at Bryden and Hilltop. So, I guess the question is just, has there been any discussion about, are there other ways perhaps that our online students might be able to interact directly with our teachers? And if not at this point, I'll at least jump ahead to the answer of, we could continue to look at that and try to find some creative ways to work with our schedule. This says so that those kids can get the interactive experiences with the teachers they love. I don't know if you want to add anything, Sherry.
Yeah, we're so open to a creative look at the scheduling. And while twice a week our students online can count on the interaction with our counselors, Ms. Krisman and Mr. Starzik, I know that has been a treat for the children. And we certainly can look into other ways to rotate our staff. We understand that the children enjoy being in person versus maybe the tapings that are being done. We have really, our goal is to be as flexible as we can with the online students. So there are a variety of ways they are able to enjoy their specials based on the schedule for that day. And for many families who chose the online option, flexibility was parts of the key to having that choice available. But I like the idea of us looking creatively at something else with the schedule.
So the next question is about drop-off times. With the increase in the number of families driving up to school for drop-off, 10 minutes doesn't seem like enough time. For sure, it's always slow at the beginning. We aim to improve. I think we did today pretty significantly. But let me just ask Sherry, Allie, Lori, has anyone been struggling that you're aware of and with that has a student at more than one of our buildings with making it to both drop-off times? And if so, I guess I know we'll ask for a few more days of patience as we get to our new routines and see how we can do that faster. Any other comments you want to offer?
Yeah. Ms. Ciccone indicated that dismissal today at Hilltop was done in 7 minutes. That was a huge improvement. That's half the time from yesterday. And even yesterday at 15 minutes, we were quite pleased. Ms. Crum also noted that today the pickup line did not take as long as yesterday. I understand yesterday the traffic was all the way out to Richmond. It was quite challenging. I understand it went smoother today, and we have tweaked our plans so that tomorrow should go even smoother. One thing I can offer is that families who also have a student at Fairmount, one of the things we figured out, because Miss Leeds has the dismissal going very smoothly using 2 different doors at Fairmount, that originally when we suggested to parents to pick up a Hilltop student or a Bryden student and then go to Fairmount, we believe that going to Fairmount first will get you just in time to be at Hilltop or Bryden. And thanks to all the staffs at every building and central office for helping expedite that. With each day, every year during the first week, we see incremental changes day to day. And by the end of the week, we see a significant change that really makes a difference in everybody's ability to get in and get out safely.
Thank you. I just want to be very direct. I'm skipping over comments about the number of online students simply because I'd be saying the same thing over and over again to everybody. Individually, we welcome any of you contacting us, speaking about the size of online classes at the elementary level directly, but I don't want to take 65 people's time on the same topics. So I apologize, but I'm just trying to move over those and find other questions or comments that we can help clarify for folks. Okay, with the email that came out today about students being overheard saying being overheard saying they are not having their temperatures checked at home before completing the health checklist, are there any plans to check temperatures before the students enter the schools? Not right now. Well, yes, we want students having their temperatures taken at home. That's before school. We don't plan to do checks at the school door for a variety of reasons. Actually, a lot of agencies like the CDC, I believe, maybe our local Board of Health, have all said that those types of universal screenings at the door can be problematic. And so we are going to, look, between me and you, all 65 of you, this is a very small number of students, but we felt that if we were overhearing it, it was worth putting the reminder out to parents. I'm hopeful and I'm trusting that our parents will take the minute or two to make sure that they're taking temperatures and filling out that online form, and hopeful that among many other layers of protection that we have in school, which I won't repeat for you ad nauseum as I've have in the past, that it is just yet one more layer, an important one, but just one more layer. And hopefully people will take my email in the spirit in which it was sent, which is just as a friendly reminder to please take that moment at home. Okay, what is the plan with COVID quarantine? If a parent of a student in my child's class tests positive, will the whole class be quarantined? Or will the class quarantine only happen if the student is positive? The answer is it may be neither. And what I can tell you from our experience is with this Cuyahoga County Board of Health over the last several months, is that they are looking very specifically at certain information. They want to know when a person became symptomatic and what were the interactions that person had during the 2 days prior to becoming symptomatic. And of course, once someone becomes symptomatic, the assumption is that they are then isolating themselves. So assuming that's true, it's during that period of time, 2 days, that they're asymptomatic, where virus spread is a real concern. So a lot depends on context. A lot depends on the information that a person provides to the Board of Health, and then they advise us about whether someone should or shouldn't be in school, for how long, and who else might be impacted by that. So I can tell you that that if a parent of a student in the class tests positive, and I'll just assume that this is a parent who lives in the home, interacts with this child all the time, closely, probably without a mask on, all of those things, the student would be quarantined. It is highly, highly unlikely that anyone else in school, a classmate, would be quarantined as well. Now, if we found out that a couple of that kid's friends came over to the house, spent a long time without masks on, etc., in close proximity with that parent, maybe a few other students would be quarantined then. It would only be if the student, him or herself, became symptomatic, regardless of whether they have a positive COVID test yet. But if they became symptomatic, now we have a whole new layer of information that we have to obtain. And so that we would then be asking the questions, when did that student become symptomatic? What were that student's interactions in school with other students? I can assure you those interactions in school will not be without a mask on. They will not be within 6 feet for 10 minutes or more. And those are the other questions that the Cuyahoga County Board of Health is always asking us. What were the nature of the interactions? Indoor or outdoor? For how long? Were they for a sustained period of time, 10 to 15 minutes or longer? Were masks being worn? And at what distance were the students from one another or a staff member? And unless a lot of what we consider just our standard rules of how school is operating, unless those were violated, it is highly unlikely that the Board of Health will have anyone else quarantined than the person who is symptomatic. So we're dealing with kind of all kinds of combinations of these situations. People get sick all the time. Now when you get sick, you start to wonder, could it be COVID? And so all of the precautions go into place. We assume COVID rather than otherwise until certain safeguards are taken in terms of timelines, etc. So that's been our experience time and again. And so that's why so that's why it's not easy to answer that question just sort of yes or no about quarantines. Okay. Okay, understanding that we selected online we selected online or hybrid for the semester, what if my child does not feel comfortable now doing the hybrid and wants to switch to online? And what I would recommend is that you call your building principal and discuss some of the details of what's happening for your child, so that we can try to problem solve with you. Okay, are teachers assigning seats so it's easier to contact trace if a student or teacher does contract COVID? We were just speaking about this today. I know, tell me if I'm correct at Hilltop, but I know Bryden has assigned seats. At Hilltop, I'm seeing nods. Teachers have assigned seats for their classes. Mr. Sritai and Mr. Chase, could you speak to that as well?
Yes, at the middle school, I haven't confirmed with all of our teachers, but they have a plan for either assigning seats or making sure that period to period we have enough empty seats so that there's adequate cleaning time in between different sets of students.
All right, and at the high school, when we thought through this, and it actually came up yesterday, every student in the high school will have a assigned seat on Thursday, and it's already been communicated with the staff.
Thank you. Okay. So let's see. I know we continue to have questions about the online classes. I just want to tell you, I appreciate that you've all signed in. I appreciate and respect that your concerns, but we're going to be giving you the same answers over and over again. And I just don't know why it would be valuable to take time to do that on here. And so again, I invite you, we can all correspond about this. If you want to do so as a group, we can set up a different Google Meet and kind of talk through ideas and options, but it just doesn't seem to me to be valuable to everyone who's on this Google Meet to persist in having us offer you the same answers over and over again. I apologize. Okay, the next question is, if my child gets sick and has 2 or more of the symptoms, do I need to take them for a COVID test for a negative result before they can come back to school? We really can't answer that. What we can ask of you is if you are concerned. So first of all, we trust you as a parent, just as we always do, to make decisions about your child's health. If you're concerned about your child, contact your pediatrician. Talk to your pediatrician about what you're presenting, what your child's presenting. That your pediatrician may expect you to get a COVID test, may not. And then I can tell you that as long as your child is symptomatic, you should keep him or her home from school, regardless of whether you've been asked to get a COVID test or whether you have the result and it's negative. And in fact, as long as someone is symptomatic, even with a negative COVID test result, the Board of Health recommends that those students or staff stay home. And then until they're either not symptomatic anymore, or after a period of time have another negative COVID test. But the window of time between COVID tests that is being recommended may not be what's being practiced, but what's being recommended is a very long period of time. So the Board of Health does worry about false negatives. So as long as someone remains symptomatic, stay home, communicate with the school. We'll figure out ways to try to keep your child engaged in school, making progress. And again, just like any time that they're sick in any normal year with any type of ailment. So more communication is always better, and we can always problem solve with you through any of that. But just know the schools won't recommend or require a COVID test. That happens through your pediatrician, potentially through the Board of Health. Do kids need a doctor's note saying it's okay to come back to school if no COVID test? A lot of that depends on the circumstances. So generally speaking, I'll say yes, it would be great for us to have documentation. However, there are all types of situations that, again, as parents, you deal with your kids. We often, you are often communicating with us about those things in over the years at any time. So just communicate with us. If the types of symptoms you're talking about particularly involve fever, then we are going to ask that you please do talk to your pediatrician. Your pediatrician will likely recommend a COVID test. What we've seen a lot of is kids who have a sore throat and they're feverish and maybe they have a symptom or something else. Frequently, they are getting an immediate strep test. If the strep test comes back negative, then we're seeing pediatricians recommending a COVID test. And so that's what we're hearing from parents has been, and staff members, that that's what we're finding. It seems to be the protocol a lot of pediatricians are following. Okay. Okay, I feel as though online learning 5 days a week with a few breaks from 9 to 3 is too much screen time for my kindergartner. Would I be able to take time off and teach them from home at our own pace? Ms. Miller or Ms. Saccone or Ms. Crum, do you want to take that one?
Sure. With our restructuring, there will be a larger gaps of time during the day so that the children will not, in fact, be on the screens for 6 hours. It will be limited to a different amount of time that will be much less, is my guess. We are going to, as I said, have some fluid groups. I also would like to say one thing that has dawned on me that I'm not sure we have mentioned with all the online concern. And I think that this has become this week a fluid kind of situation where we have also had some changes with families choosing to leave their online class to go back in person. We have had several emails at the beginning of this week to make that option and to think through it in the next few days. My guess is we may see some fluidity with that situation continue, but that does not impact our plans with moving forward to change the structure of what has been happening with the addition of the new students. So I just wanted to clarify that because Ms. Crum, Ms. Saccone, and I have been in contact with several parents this week and already have had a change. For example, Dr. Hardis, that the second grade class has already had 2 children leave it, from the beginning of the week so that they'll be back in person. So I thought that was worth mentioning with all the concern surrounding the sizes.
Okay, next one is about contact tracing. In the Board of Health's September 14th guidance, it states that the school has to actively participate in contact tracing of all cases within 24 hours. Specifically, how does the school plan to do this in 24 hours? I don't know how to answer that other than to say we will. We have, I mean, you see the number of administrators on the call. We're sort of all hands on deck if we had a situation where the contact tracing were, let's say, spilling out into the tens, if not hundreds. But that would be incredibly rare. The type of information thus far that we've needed to provide to the Board of Health, particularly because of the kind of interactions that are happening in school, which again are always masked, they're always distanced. They are not for these sustained periods of time where people are close together, within 6 feet. We're not having to provide them with, with contact tracing for huge numbers of people. I think that they are. My understanding is the reason they put this guidance out is with a lot of schools starting to go back in person. The fear is that that there would be many, many more cases reported to the Board of Health, and that the Board of Health's capacity to contact trace on their own, which is what they do now, might be too heavily taxed. And so they are looking to schools to be ready to help them with contact tracing so that they can still serve their role as, basically a firewall between, to help stop, to get information out and to get people quarantined who need to be to prevent virus spread from going any further. So again, at this point in time, contact tracing has been minimal for us and really has been more about just gathering a little bit of information where we've had some possible exposures and giving them that information. If things change, we are ready to put a lot more people onto looking at who was where when, and so where might interactions have happened. We obviously know where students are at all times. We have all of your contact information in Infinite Campus, and so very quickly we can reach out to a group of parents and obtain or provide for you the type of information that might be necessary. Thank you, Ms. Gorley. Glad they felt happy in school and safe. That's great. That is what we're aiming to do. So we can hang on a little longer. Oh, Mr. Chase gets personal thanks. We can wait through a little bit of awkward pauses and see if other questions come about. I can tell you that we have been working with about 2 weeks ago, we were handed off by the Board of Health to two new representatives to work directly with our schools, and they've both been phenomenal. Getting answers back to us on all sorts of questions, typically well within 24 hours, which is great. People come back from weekends, they find out that they were with a family member, maybe an uncle or a cousin who is now symptomatic or is now has COVID positive results. And we've been very, very quickly been able to find out from the Board of Health what is the critical information we need to get to them. We've been able to, and very quickly we've had answers. And so, knock on wood, so far this has been very manageable, and everyone has been, very cautious in all of their actions. And so, so far so good. But we're only 2 days in, and again, I'm sure the Board of Health is very cautious because lots of schools are starting to announce their return to in-person dates, and no doubt their personnel will be receiving a lot more requests soon. Let's see. Good. Hey, we'll be working with Ms. Moody Benedict. She has some great ideas for working with her online group, and we'll be making sure that that all of our online classes, our online teachers, are collaborating with one another and sharing some of the ideas about what's working really well.
That's great.
Bryden parents, we did a little bit of jockeying of our afternoon pickup procedures today. Some of our best laid plans, you just never know how many bus riders, as I've said before, that we're going to have, how many car pickups there are going to be. And so I think we did manage maybe we had our, well, it was a low bar from day one, to be honest, but I think we were a half hour faster today than we were yesterday. Thankfully, because there's a real spillover effect with our busing, all of our buses go from one building, drop the kids, take about 10 minutes to disinfect seats, pick up the next round of kids, and repeat. So if we have a slowdown at any building, every building gets, has a slowdown in terms of the buses arriving. And so in particular, our Hilltop and our Bryden parking lots are really not, we're not built for the kind of the capacity of car and bus traffic we have. They're not designed real well in those ways. So we make do, and we try to make sure that safety is first, and sometimes speed comes second then. But, kudos to Ms. Saccone, and I understand Mr. Houchins deserves a lot of thanks as well. But they really revamped their the Hilltop procedures between the first day and second, which meant over at Bryden, the buses were arriving much faster, and we could execute kind of that drop off better than we did the day before. Still needs work, but we're going to stay at it.
Super big shout out to Mr. Houchins and Brian Koss. They were very, very instrumental in getting that going for us at Hilltop. So thanks, Mr. Houchins. And Mr. Koss, if you're on the call.
Okay, Sherry Miller, just want to check on something you said earlier. Is the recommendation, if you have a Fairmount student and a Bryden student, that you drop off at Fairmount first and then Bryden? And then it says, and the Bryden child will not be considered tardy, question mark.
Right. So to clarify, it is best to drop off your Bryden child first in the morning. We have a tighter window than Fairmount. Fairmount staff is outdoors until 9:10. But in the afternoon, my recommendation was to go to Fairmount first. And at Fairmount, you will get through very quickly, and then you can head on down to Bryden. And I'm sure there will still be a little bit of a line by the time you come to Bryden. So I'm sorry for that confusion. So I'm asking you to do two different things for your morning or afternoon routine. That will work, I believe, most efficiently.
The last question right now is, under what circumstances would you return to all remote learning? I'll give two answers. One is the obvious one. If the governor orders a closure of all schools, we'll obviously abide by that. We don't have a choice, just like we did on March 13th of 2020. So the other answer would be, if our circumstances on the ground within Beechwood are become extremely problematic for us, if we are concerned about virus spread in the schools, then regardless of whether there's a governor order, a Board of Health recommendation, we will not be, we will not turn a blind eye to what's happening on the ground in our own schools. And so, in consultation with our Board of Education, we would make a decision to go to remote learning if that proved to be the case. And of course, we're all hoping that it never comes to that. I will offer, I guess, just a little more space filler, and then maybe we'll call it a night. My space filler is, several weeks ago, we asked families if they were willing to donate tents, whether it was to donate tents you already own or to purchase them at a special price that Dick's Sporting Goods was offering us. I don't remember the number of families, but I think somewhere around 40 tents at $40 a piece were ordered from Dick's. Those should be delivered soon if they're not already, and we'll start to assemble those in different areas out on our fields. And then I will be on the lookout for another solicitation email for donations of tents or canopies. Carports are great, actually, if you're able to, if they're collapsible and you can bring them to us, we will take them. And so I'll put out an email shortly to all of our parents about having you communicate with each school building's office, just to give us a time that you'll be showing up so that we can assist you with getting things out of your car or van and bringing it inside. And then we'll, again, over time, as we get all these donations, we've identified some spots at each of our buildings where we think it would be conducive to have some cover. And as the weather turns, it'll be nice to have that out there. And I know I see all the elementary kids kind of coming in and out with their yoga mats every day, which is great, because that makes it easier to, to enjoy the outdoors, even if the ground's a little soggy or et cetera. So that's been nice to see.
That's actually a good idea. Maybe we should get high school students yoga mats too. That might work.
Any other questions, comments for folks who commented tonight about elementary online classes? We'll follow up and offer some times to meet like this, a Google Meet, and then we can work directly with you on your concerns. So they're not, kind of diluted by a lot of other people, questions, that kind of thing. But we appreciate the positive comments in the chat, and thank you for trusting us with your kids. We appreciate it. We're really happy to be back. It feels like a little dose of normalcy in a crazy world right now. So we're happy to have your kids at school. And for those of you who are online, we're still happy that you're in Beechwood also. So thank you as well. So typically when we start closing down the meeting, people start leaving, and the rest of us stare at each other for a while on our screens. We have another session like this 2 weeks from tonight. And then, as I said, we'll get in touch with some of the elementary online families, or with all of you, excuse me, not some of you. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Hello, Asher Hardis. See, you've joined our meeting again. Keeping an eye on me. Thank you, board members. Thank you, administrators. Appreciate you taking time out of tonight. You all can sign off. It's fine. I'll stay on till the bitter end.